Well, we've got round 11 of the 2021 Monoposto Championship coming up here at Donington Park, with the enormous grid of cars just about to line up in a few moments' time. They had a qualifying session this morning which saw an amazing 39 cars attempt to qualify, which means that we have got some reserves. So those that were late putting in their entries for this weekend have been placed on the reserved list, and therefore they will not be able to take up their position on the grid, subject to any problems for any other cars that will have to fall by the wayside. So the likes of the number 83 car, the number 36 car and the number 52 car will all be reserves on this grid, I'm afraid to say. So they will be, in the nicest possible way, keeping their fingers crossed that others have problems, because if they do have problems, they'll be able to remove those cars off the grid and we'll slot in the reserves in that order. So the likes of Victor Newman, who is the number 83 car, Mike Hatton, who's been a regular in Monoposto racing for a good number of years now, and the number 52 car as well, which is Phil Chappell, will all be reserves in this race. But what it does mean is that we still have a full grid of cars, an enormously full grid of cars. If you're not familiar with Monoposto racing, then it caters for single-seater racing cars constructed or adapted to the Monoposto formula regulations in 7 different classes. So we have the likes of Mono F3, which is for largely Formula 3 designed cars. It does go into the years that they are built, so it has to be 2007 or earlier. We've got Mono 2000s. Mono F3, by the way, does cater for Formula Renault cars as well. Mono 2000, which is for alloy chassis or steel chassis 2001 or earlier, or 1999 or earlier if they're Formula Renault. And carbon fibre Formula 3 cars before 1996. We've got Mono Classic 2000, which is for those cars that were built 1993 or earlier, or Vauxhall Lotus cars. We've got Mono 1800, which is for chassis 2017 or earlier, or those that used to race in Formula Ford back between 2006 and 2012. Mono 1600, which is for 2017 or earlier cars again. It also, for this year, caters for Scarab Mark 5 Formula Vs, but they have to run the Type 1 Volkswagen engine. Mono Moto, which is for motorcycle engine cars up to 1000cc, and Mono Moto 1400 as well, which again all have age limits to 2017 or earlier. And Mono 1400, of course, is for 1400cc cars. I'm going to guide you through the grid for this one. It looks as though it's going to be a rolling start for them, so busy is the grid. There are no graphics, but let me just guide you through the grid. Number 80, Dan Gore, sits there on pole position. He is running a Mono 1000 car, and alongside him is former Westfield race from many years ago, was a Westfield racer, but tyre development he has been heavily involved in over the years. Number 31, Chris Davidson, 80 and 31. Row 2 of the grid is multiple former champion. Monoposto racing wouldn't be Monoposto without a member of the Timms family on the grid. Number 3, Jason Timms, lines up alongside number 20, which is Anthony Gauntlet. The third row of the grid is 33, Lee Fern, and number 10, Neil Harrison. 33 and 10, off they head on their final formation lap. And row 4 of the grid is number 8, Martin Wright, and 15, Simon Tate. The fifth row of the grid sees 27, James Rimmer, line up alongside 78, Miles Castledini. And row 6 of the grid is number 4, Chris Woodhouse, and 16, James Lederman. The seventh row of the grid is number 5, Russ Giles, and 48, Morgan McCourt. With the eighth row of the grid being long time Monoposto racer Nigel Davies, number 77, alongside 28, Robin Dorr. The ninth row of the grid sees 32, Terry Clark, line up alongside number 40, Charles Baldwin, with row 10 being 29, James Tanzer, and 46, Jared Wood. The 11th row of the grid, number 26, Bryn Tootle, and number 17, which is Bruno Costa, with row 12 being 23, Will McAteer, and 56, Tom Wheatley. The 13th row of the grid is number 100, Juan Moreno, and 12, Phil Davis. Row 14 is number 70, Peter Whitmore, and 73, which is Sam Don. Row 15 is 38, Carl O'Brien, and 157, Chris Levy. Row 16 is number 7, Jeff Fern, and 66, Darren Richards. Row 17, which is the penultimate row of the grid, is 98, Rod Toft, and 14, Robert Smith. And the final row of the grid, number 47, David Jones, and 71, Declan Wright, who I think had a few problems in qualifying, didn't set a time, but say ultimately got his entry in nice and early, so wasn't classified as a reserve, so he did his 3 regulatory laps out of session, and therefore has been able to line up at the tail end of the field. Everybody where I'd expect them to be. There's one car that does stand out, having qualified down in 30th position. Chris Levy stands out a little bit as being a bit further away from where I would have expected, potentially. So we'll have to see as to whether Chris can work his way at the wheel of that number 157 car through the order, but I say he is at the wheel of a Van Diemen RF83, so now that's probably about right actually for where he ought to be, thinking back at it. So other than that, we can see the cars working their way around the circuit. Some of the individual class championships have already been sorted, so the likes of Jeff Fern, confirmed as the 2021 champion in Mono 1600. Ben Stiles, who isn't with us this weekend, already confirmed as the Mono 1800 champion for this year. And also the man on pole position, Dan Gore, is already out of touch in the Mono 1000 championship. He has already stitched that one up. Regardless of what happens over the course of these final 3 races of the championship season for the Monopostos. So the safety car bringing them all round. So it looked like with the safety car at the front it was going to be a rolling start, but you would usually expect these single-seater races to be a standing start, and I think it will be ultimately. We'll have to wait and see as to what happens when the safety car brings... No, they're getting themselves into 2x2 order, so I think we are good for a rolling start in this one. We'll have to wait and see as the cars are about to thread their way onto the start-finish line, and then we'll see as to what happens when we get this 15-minute race underway, the first of 3 races for this weekend. So Dan Gore in the little Jedi on pole position, the larger Dallara F301 of Chris Davidson that sits alongside, and then as we await the lights on the gantry to get ready to go, we're going to get 15 minutes of racing underway for the Monopostos. Huge field of cars head up towards Redgate Corner. Dan Gore in the motorcycle engine Jedi leads the race. Chris Davidson in second place. Jason Timms looking to try and squeeze his way through into third place, but it's not quite going to work. Anthony Gauntlet, I think, has hung on to third place, or has he? No, Jason Timms is coming back at him. There's a spin for the number 23 car, which is Will McAteer, down through the order, so he's had a rotation at the wheel of his 1992 Reynard. But I think other than that, everybody was safely through the first corner. Can't really tell which car's which as the sun glints off them at what has been a beautiful day here at Donington Park. The weather forecast has been fabulous today, not quite due to be quite as good tomorrow, however. But Dan Gore has got the job done. The newly crowned 2021 Mono 1000 champion for this season, converting pole position to the early race lead, and looking to see whether he can put daylight between himself and Chris Davidson, whilst Anthony Gauntlet is up from 4th on the grid to 3rd position. Jason Timms down into 4th place, and who's there in 5th position? Looks as though that might be Neil Harrison that's there in 5th place as they head in towards the braking area for the S's for the first time. Gap's just starting to open up at the front of it. We'll pick out the individual class leaders as the race wears on. It is Neil Harrison that's there in 5th place. Miles Castledini in 6th place. Dives up the inside of Simon Tate, I think, there. And that, I'm afraid to say, is retirement very, very early on for Darren Richards, who is out of the race and going nowhere with his Jedi, I'm afraid. So early retirement for the unfortunate Darren Richards. The one thing that Monoposto Racing does, and has done since its outset, is give a home to pretty much any single-seater car. So many drivers are able to just either utilise a car that otherwise would be obsolete. Simon Tate still coming under pressure from Chris Woodhouse, who looked towards the inside line there. For some drivers in the past, it has allowed them to home build their own cars, because the regulations again allow home built cars to come in as long as they match the overall regulations of the Monoposto Racing Club. If you're a very clever engineer, you're able to build your own chassis. That's exactly what you may choose to do. So Dan Gore pulling away in the lead of the race. You can see that everybody has got somebody to play with, really, and with 39 cars having qualified, it was always going to be a very busy Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. We've got all of the individual classes all amalgamated here this weekend, subject to circuit licences and how many cars you're able to run on a track. Sometimes we do see separate races with some classes being split against others. Now Jason Timms is coming under pressure here from Neil Harrison. The Dallara looking to close in on the motorcycle engine Dallara that lies ahead. Miles Castledini still going wheel to wheel with people as well as they head in towards the braking area for the S's. That's the point at the circuit at which we saw the retirement of Darren Richards' car, but there's no yellow flags there, so full overtaking is allowed as that Jedi is parked safely out of harm's way up against the barriers. But lap number 2 is about to be completed. The gap was 1.5 seconds between Dan Gore in the lead and Chris Davidson in second place, who so far this season, Chris, hasn't done a full championship season. When he's been out, he's been competitive at the wheel of his F3 Dallara. He's had 2 class wins so far this year, Chris, and at the moment he is leading the class in the early stages of this one. Miles Castledini looking to jink out from behind Chris Woodhouse to try and squeeze his way through. Number 78 car can't quite do it, the Van Diemen RF84. down through Hollywood and the Craner Curves. Miles Castledini's raced a whole raft of things over the years with Davrians and historic sports cars and things. See the Van Diemen moving around, car which harks back to Formula Renault days by the look of the shape of the car. Losing out to Chris Woodhouse's Dallara that runs in the full F3 class. Chris Woodhouse, who used to race a Jedi with great effect in this championship for a few seasons. And there's a good little squabble that's going on as well. That's going to be Martin Wright at the wheel of the Dallara. That's a driver who's self-built his own cars in the past, coming under pressure from the car that sits right behind him. And that is going to be James Lederman, by the look of things. James, who used to race in Formula Renault previously, and at the wheel of this Dallara now, is giving Martin Wright a thing or two to think about as they went in towards the S's that time through. 15-minute race. We're already a third of the way through it, would you believe? Terry Clark, the next of those up at the wheel of the number 32 car. He's at the head of this enormous train of cars, which includes the Vauxhall Lotus, by the look of things, of Jared Wood. So there's Martin Wright, his motorcycle-engined Dallara. Quite a few of those we've seen coming through in Monoposto racing over the course of the last few years, utilising the carbon tub of a Formula 3 car, but mating it with a motorcycle engine at the tail end. Under pressure, though, from James Lederman's Dallara F300. So a 2000 model year Dallara Formula 3 car. However, Martin Wright now up the inside of Simon Tate and going to go through. So Simon Tate losing a position there. Simon, who's been racing for a huge amount of years now, Simon. Now, is that car slowing? I think it is, you know. The number 15 car, just yet everybody just easing their way past effortlessly. Through goes Nigel Davies as well at the wheel of his Jedi. Nigel, who used to race a Formula Ford based car in Monoposto for a good number of years. Robin Dorr squeezes his way through as well. Robin, who's been a regular again for a good number of seasons, not necessarily doing full season campaigns, but the gold car flashes its way through. But yeah, clearly issues with Simon Tate's car, so I think we'll see that car destined for the pit lane before too much longer. Now Nigel Davies at the wheel of the number 77 Jedi, still under pressure from Robin Dorr. You'll see those in the background of the shot. Here they come now. Ahead of them is this little pair, which is still Martin Wright, coming under pressure from James Lederman. Is he going to sneak his way through? No, the door is closed, so no opportunity there to gain the place. Still dropping down through the order goes Simon Tate. Also looks as though the two Lee Stones are squabbling for position as well, the two Irish-built cars. Morgan McCourt at the wheel of the largely red one, and the other Lee Stone is Carl O'Brien, who I think has worked his way well up through the order, actually, because he started 31st, Carl O'Brien. He's now up into 19th position, and that's those two cars now that are just threading their way past that Dallara that is surely in the hands of Simon Tate, destined for the pit lane at the end of this lap. 8.5 minutes to go. Back over the start-finish they'll now come. As for our class leaders, here come the two Lee Stones. There's the red car, there's the orange car, so Morgan McCourt and Carl O'Brien from the tail end of the field working their way through. Class leaders at the moment, leading the race overall and leading Mono 1000 is Dan Gore. Nigel Davies coming under attack from Robin Dorr as the two of them head down through the Craner Curves and the old hairpin. That will be for 11th and 12th place, the order is swapped. Leading Mono F3 is the car in second place, which is number 31 Chris Davidson. Leading Mono 1400 is the fourth place car, number 3 Jason Timms. Leading Mono 2000 is that number 28 car there, the gold car of Robin Dorr, that's just overtaken Nigel Davies. And then leading Mono Classic at the moment is going to be the number 46 car, the Formula Vauxhall Lotus, largely white and purple it is, in the hands of Jared Wood. And I think the only other class leader we've not picked out as yet is down in 24th position. The number 56 car will be leading Mono 1800 at this stage, and that is going to be Wheatley, the number 56 car that leads that, Tom Wheatley, at the wheel of his Magile. So that picks out the class leaders. There is Jared Wood heading towards us now at the wheel of the Vauxhall Lotus, the number 46 car. Behind him is the number 5 machine, which is Russ Giles. Now, Russ has tumbled down through the order, started in 22nd, is running in 22nd position, started 15th, so it's been a big old drop down through the order for him. 27 James Rimmer getting picked off by the charging Lee Stone of Carl O'Brien, so from 31st on the grid, I think further praise is made up here for Carl O'Brien. So he was 17th at the start of the lap. This time O'Brien comes over the start-finish line up to 16th position. Yes, the number 27 car James Rimmer, the Dallara behind him, and that number 27 Dallara started 9th and is now down into 17th position. So there's been a few cars work their way beautifully up through the order. For poor old James Rimmer, it's stark contrast. He's tumbled his way all the way down through. But as ever, with such an enormous field of cars, it's a busy Grand Prix circuit. There's already somebody to fight with. That's a good thing. Up towards us now comes number 14. That looks like the ex-Kevin Mason chassis from some years ago, the number 14 car. That's Robert Smith. Under pressure from the car that sits directly behind him, which is Peter Whitmore. But at the moment, it's just the car ahead, Robert Smith, that's hanging on to the position. Peter Whitmore behind. And they'll be fighting over, where are they fighting for? They're fighting for 27th and 28th positions. So 5 3/4 minutes to go. On his merry way is Dan Gore, leading by 13 seconds now. Set the fastest lap of the race last time through, did our race leader number 80, Dan Gore. 1 minute 29.607. You can see the little motorcycle engine Jedi, the John Corbin designed car, which really was originally designed for sprinting and hill climbing, but has gone on to have hugely successful championships in either one make just for Jedis or the likes of Monopostos or other single-seater series where they're eligible. It has accumulated a raft of wins in circuit racing since it first appeared, the best part of, well, probably nearly 25-30 years ago really in circuit racing. Let's say originally designed by John Corbin to be a sprint and hill climb car. And hasn't really aged. It's as competitive now as it ever has been, really. Yes, it's evolved into the Mark 6 nowadays, with a raft of different improvement done and different engines that they've dropped in the back over the years, from anything from sort of 500cc engines up to 1000cc engines. But it's always been a good and a nimble little chassis, very, very light. And at places like Cadwell Park, it is one of these cars that actually holds the outright lap record. So over the start-finish line, Robin Dorr still, I think, trying to work his way through. Is that? No, that's number 70. That's Peter Whitmore, who's got past Chris Levy. So that's the Formula Ford 2000 car, the Van Diemen RF82, harking back to the likes of the cars that Ayrton Senna would have raced back in period. And this is Jared Wood trying to sneak through David Jones there. So that is Jared Wood at the wheel of the Vauxhall Lotus, putting a lap on David Jones's car. Jared Wood has got Russ Giles right behind him by the look of things. So that's Dallara hunting down Formula Vauxhall Lotus. Russ Giles jinks out from behind, up the inside he will go, takes the place away. So up to 20th position now comes Russ Giles. And off, I'm afraid, and into the gravel trap. That looks like that's down at the old hairpin with a raise of the hand in frustration goes James Rimmer. So James Rimmer will be able to rejoin at the wheel of his number 27 Dallara. Doesn't sound overly great, that car, either, as it went past the camera. Now the number 38 car, what a drive this has been from Carl O'Brien. He is now up with Chris Baldwin, and that is going to be for 14th position, and through he goes, gains the place again. So fantastic stuff from Carl O'Brien. Not quite sure what was wrong with the Lee Stone in qualifying, but that car now is up to 14th position. It's still 5th in its class, so it's a long way down in its class still, but what a drive. Huge amounts of cars that he's had to overtake Carl O'Brien, and that will please the team for sure. And it's good that we continue to see the Lee Stones out in the Monoposto Championship. I've seen a few of them over the course of the years, and it's good that the team that run them still make the trip from Ireland to come and join us in the series. Man from County Kildare still looking to make some progress. Now this is number 6. You can see the slightly battered nose to the number 6 car. That is looking to try and work its way through the order. We've only got 2.5 minutes though remaining, and are we going to see it? 26 rather, which will be Bryn Tootle diving up the inside. Bryn, who's been a champion in his class in the past in Monoposto racing, gains the place as he sneaks his way through and past the number 40 car of Chris Baldwin. There's Will McAteer. That's the car that had the spin on the very first lap, Will. He's now looking to try and sneak his way through and past Chris Levy, Will McAteer, and that will be 4th position as well, I think. Yeah, so that's Will up into something like 28th position, having dropped all the way down towards the tail end of the field at number 23 car, following his spin on the first lap. Lee Fern under pressure. This is going to be for 6th position. Number 33, Lee Fern, weaving one way, weaving the other. He's got the car of Harrison ahead of him, which is Neil Harrison. He's looking up the inside line to try and take the place away. Can't quite make it stick, but needs to be conscious that Chris Woodhouse in the number 4 Dallara is right behind him, and they're fighting for 5th, 6th and 7th places. So in towards the braking area for the hairpin they come. Chris Woodhouse this time up the inside to try and steal the place away from Lee Fern. Tries to make it stick, staying out of harm's way, not wanting to get involved there. Moves one of the cars to make sure it's well and truly out of the way. I think that was Bruno Costa at the wheel of the JKS, and this is a wonderful, wonderful fight. At the sharp end of it is Neil Harrison. He's running in 5th position, but right behind him is Chris Woodhouse. Lee Fern has been unpicked by Chris Woodhouse, and now Woodhouse jinks one way, jinks the other, looking for the inside line on Neil Harrison, who uses all of his experience over the years to close the door and prevents him from squeezing his way through, now with only 30 seconds to go. So down through the Craner curves goes the fight for 5th and 6th and 7th places. There is Morgan McCourt, I'm afraid to say, at the wheel of the second of the 2 Lee Stones we've got in the field. And that car, I think, has had a spin down at the Melbourne hairpin, and he's needing to try to fire that back into life to get the car going once more. But for Neil Harrison, can he hang on to 5th position and 2nd in the Mono F3 class at the moment? Because Chris Woodhouse is in the same class as him, and Lee Fern is as well, that sits not that far behind. So 2nd, 3rd and 4th in Mono F3. But for the lead of the race, Dan Gore is heading his way up towards the braking area for what is the final corner. The clock has ticked to 0. Dan Gore is on course to claim yet another win in his class in Mono 1000. Already having claimed the championship, he claimed double wins here at Donington Park in the early part of the season, double wins at Brands Hatch, didn't appear at Castlecombe, double wins at Alton Park, double wins at Silverstone. But it's a treble header meeting this weekend, so that is now win number 9 of the season for Dan Gore. He claims the win. Chris Davidson comes through now to finish in 2nd place, not that far ahead of Jason Timms, the number 3 car in the end, that finishes in 3rd place. Anthony Gauntlet finishes in 4th position, and 5th place is just going to be Chris Woodhouse in that great little battle that we had between himself. He does manage to get through and ahead of Neil Harrison on the final lap. Chris Woodhouse finishes in 5th place. Number 10 Neil Harrison will finish in 6th place. Lee Fern, the number 33 car, will finish in 7th place. The next car through should be Martin Wright. Here he comes now, I think, to finish in what will be 8th position, car number 8. 9th place should be Robin Dorr, but he's been unpicked by James Lederman on that final lap, so the number 16 car finishes in 9th place, and Robin Dorr will complete the top 10. But more importantly for Robin Dorr, he might have lost a place, but he still claimed top honours in the Mono 2000 class, as the rest of the field all foul their way over the start-finish line at the end of what has been the first of 3 races this weekend for the Monoposto Championship, and it will conclude their championship season as well for the Monoposto cars, for what is a 13-round championship for most people. However, when we had split class races at Alton Park, one of the races did not take place because there was an incident out on circuit that did require medical attention for a supporting race to the Monopostos. It wasn't one of the Monoposto drivers, and that meant that there was not sufficient time for them to run all of their races for some of the classes. So Dan Gore is now 9 times a class winner this season. So the only time he has not been on the top step of the podium was Castlecombe, where he didn't compete, as far as I'm aware. And on that occasion it gave Nigel Davies and the likes of Mal Castledini the chance to grab some class wins, but other than that, it's been utter dominance in Mono 1000 from Dan Gore so far this season, who is about to thread his way into the pit lane, and then the cars will all as ever have to go into Parc Ferme, and there'll be some podium presentations taking place as well. So into the pit lane they come. That is it for the Monoposto racing cars for today. We do see them back out on circuit tomorrow as well. The Monos will be back out at around about 11:25 tomorrow morning for race number 2, and be about 4:15 in the afternoon tomorrow, where we'll see them out for their final championship round for 2021. So let's just confirm the order then. It is car number 80, Dan Gore, that claims the win, and the win in Mono 1000. Second, and the win in Mono F3 went the way of Chris Davidson. And third, and the win in Mono 1400 went the way of Jason Timms. 4th place was Anthony Gauntlet. In 5th place, it was the number 4 car of Chris Woodhouse that finished in fifth position. Sixth place was Neil Harrison, and seventh went the way of Lee Fern. Eighth place was the number 8 car of Martin Wright. Ninth position was James Lederman, and in 10th place it was the Mono 2000 class winner, which was Robin Dorr. As for other class winners that finished outside of the top 10, the win in Mono Classic went the way of the number 46 car of Jared Wood, and the win in Mono 1800 went the way of the number 56 car that ultimately claimed the win, which was Tom Wheatley in his Mugile in Mono 1800. But that's it for the moment from the Monoposto Racing Championship here at Donington Park. We'll catch up with some more action from them tomorrow.